What's good, y'all? Shaun here, and today we are going to be talking about knuckle straps for the Oculus Rift S and Quest. And actually, one of these two options that I have will also work on your original Oculus controllers. So these are two very different designs with different price points. Each has its pros and cons, but we're going to go over all of that in this video. So hopefully my plan here is that this is going to inform you of what's available, what's out there, as well as give you some idea what to be looking for as you continue to search for the perfect solution for you. So when I got my Rift S, I knew I wanted some sort of grip or cover for my controllers. On my original Rift, I had kind of this silicone sleeve that would slide on and off super easy if I had to replace batteries or I wanted to clean it. And so I wanted something similar for my new controllers. Now, of course, when the Rift S came out, we all had seen the Valve Index, the Knuckles controllers. So I was wondering if there was a way I could get kind of that Knuckles strap for the Oculus as well. Instead of, buying the Knuckles controllers for my Oculus, it comes with controllers. Just maybe there's a solution. And the good news is there is. Of course, you probably already know that. I mean, you do. I literally just told you. Anyway, okay. So we're going to go over two different versions here. We're going to start off with what I'll call the basic option. So this is the Kiwi design knuckle strap. It looks like this when you take it out of the case. Literally just this. It is a rubber ring attached to two straps that are tied together, connected with Velcro. So first things first, let's go with the pros. Pro number one, it is $12.99 for the set of two of these, of course, for both of your controllers, but $12.99, super simple, cheap price point for these. It is a insanely easy install. So I'll show you here on my controller. This is the Kiwi design knuckle strap installed on the Oculus Rift S controller here. You see there is a rubber ring here that you slide up the top, and then the other side of it, which you can see here, kind of looks like, and by kind of, it looks exactly like this because that's what it is. You slide off the battery pack. Slide off the battery pack. And in here, this is where your original strap is located, and you just slide it out, and then you slide the new thing in. And you'll notice here, just a minute as I put this battery back on. And so please notice how easy that was. That will come up later, but removing and putting back the battery pack is a very important part here. But you'll notice that I have the old strap connected here as well, so that I get the the double trust. Because, no matter how good this thing is, I'm not going to trust this to always hold on to my hand. There's gonna be a time where it slides out no matter what. It's just not worth the trouble. Save yourself the amount of money that it costs for you to purchase that monitor or TV that's in front of you by connecting the other old strap to it so that you can still use that for extra security. So let's go over some more pros here. So one of the pros is once this thing is tightened on your hand, it does feel really secure. You can just Velcro it tight enough so that it's in the right spot, and boom, you're good to go. It's comfortable. I don't really have any complaints about the comfort level of this. I don't feel like in the middle of the game, I gotta kind of go like, oh no, it loosened. I gotta reset this thing. That doesn't happen. Once you set it and it's right, you're good to just play until you're done. And then, as I said, of course, the battery sliding, battery pack, being able to replace a battery, super easy. And for me, that is a big deal. Lastly, of course, the same thing I said in the first place, it's cheap. It is cheap. So, if for some reason it breaks or you want multiples because it got dirty, it's not going to break the bank. It's definitely worth trying out for $12.99. So now we can go into the cons. I'd say number one for me, if you've watched my previous reviews, I do talk about sweat management as being a really big problem for me. These controllers get sweaty and gross, and you can clean them over and over, but they'll never be fully clean. And so this is literally just a strap. That's all it is. It's a knuckle strap. So maybe there is another additional, maybe one of those silicone wraps that you could slide on there and then put this on top of it to kind of give you some sort of extra protection from this. Because otherwise there's nothing between your controller and your hand to keep it protected from sweat. Although putting another slider on, like another piece on, it's going to make it more of a pain to replace the battery, but You're still protecting it. Let's see here. This strap itself, although it is rubber, there's Velcro on it. So if you get the Velcro wet, like Velcro doesn't really like water. So you got to be really careful with it if you're trying to clean this thing off. It's not the biggest deal. Again, I think it would be a while before you felt the need to replace it or clean it, I guess. But that's just something that, a difference between these things. Another thing that I got here is, although I said once this thing is set, it's good to go, this Velcro is not, getting it to the right spot may take a few tries. So when you take it off, it's disconnected like this. So you really got to hold it in place and then set your Velcro, and you're like, okay, that's good. Nope, it's still too loose. Okay, no, we gotta try and tighten that. Okay, all right, we'll really give it some gusto there. All right, cool, but maybe your hand isn't in exactly the right place. You try to get comfortable and nope. Okay. So it may take you a few tries. This is not the end of the world. It's not going to ruin your day. It's not going to take you an hour to get it right, but it isn't an instant, this is good to go. I think that once you kind of have it in one spot and, you can still slide your hand in and out of it, you're going to be fine. It's not that big a deal, but it is definitely something to take note of. The other thing is this rubber ring, right? So it slides up here in between your Oculus button and the other buttons and the controller. It also comes awfully close to this trigger. Now, most of the time you're gonna have your hand here. It is keeping that ring up, but there definitely is a fear in my mind. Now, I'd say 2 hours that I've played with this particular one, it never hit the button, but I was always concerned that this thing would slide down and hit the Oculus home button, or maybe even get on top of the trigger. I think that is a very, very slim chance, but I do believe it may be possible. Again, 2 hours, it didn't happen, but it's something to think about. So, I mean, that's pretty much covering the Kiwi Designs knuckle strap. Again, $12.99. I think it's totally worth it if you're not concerned about the extra grip on the actual thing itself. I think this is a really good value, and I highly recommend it. Now, the next one we're going to go over is the one that I was using for months before I even tried this other one, and that is the Mamet Touch Grips. I was just calling it Mamet Grips. This also will work for your normal Oculus, but I have it on my Oculus Rift S controller. So here, actually, I'm going to show it to you uninstalled. Okay, it comes like this. It's got this hard plastic part that goes on the handle, and then you have these basically shoelaces that connect to the other pieces. So pros about this thing. It's a really good grip. The diamonds on here really do give you a good feel. It feels really good. It's solid, and it does help with the grip. And even when you're really sweaty, it still will grip your hand really, really well. And it's super easy to clean. Again, it's plastic. You just take this thing off. I mean, you don't even have to really take it off to give it a good wipe down. Maybe you got some wipes around. You just use that. But again, it's plastic. All this stuff, you can run it in water, underwater. You can really clean the heck out of it if you want. That's nice. Let's see here. It extends the bottom of the controller ever so slightly. So the bottom of the controller really only hits about here. And so you have another about half an inch to an inch of extension on the controller. And you may not think that that's really helpful, except when I play Beat Saber in particular, that's probably my go-to discussion piece for most of the hardware that I do, is how it holds up when I'm really thrashing around. That extra distance at the bottom, I mean, even before I had these grips, I would always kind of my hands would kind of slide back a little bit, and then it just got uncomfortable. That little bit of space really does great for Beat Saber in particular. I know there's some people who even have really big extenders on their controllers for Beat Saber in particular. And so that's just a small plus side to these things that just makes it a little bit better than maybe others. It's also super sturdy. I don't feel like I'm going to break this thing easily, even if I stepped on it. I think my foot would be in a lot of pain, but I'm not worried about it. It's definitely well made. And all in all, I mean, for the most part, it's comfortable. I mean, these straps are soft against your hand. If they really got sweaty and gross, you could definitely run this through the washing machine, and I'm sure it would be fine. Again, they're just like shoelaces. You could just probably buy more shoelaces if you needed to. Easy to replace. So I guess that's pretty much all the pros. It's a really good deal. it has that cover aspect where it's actually covering up the controller to keep it a little bit more safe than the other option that I was talking about. So I guess that leads us on into our cons here. Number one, the install process was awful. And there's one part that made it really, really difficult. So first of all, it has a website on the box when you get it that says, go here to get the manual. So it's a PDF on how to install it. Even reading through that, maybe I'm just big dumb, but I had to go on YouTube and watch a video of a guy installing it because I couldn't figure out the right way to get the strap through the bottom of this controller. So there's a little hole at the very end here, and there's a little latch on it, little piece of plastic. And the idea for the plastic is so that you can kind of like wrap in the strap to secure it if you really want to, or take the part of the strap. Where's my thing? So like the part of the strap here that makes it longer, shorter, whatever, that you move up and down. The idea is that you can actually take that and lock it in at the bottom here. But what that little thing does is it makes it insanely difficult to get that square through that hole. And I was trying with my hands for a really long time, and it literally took me using needle nose pliers to line it up perfectly and then jam it and then get it so it was kind of stuck in there and then push hard enough to get it through. Once it was through, I knew I didn't have to deal with it again. It was kind of a one-off thing. All good. Okay, finally done with it. But it wasn't a 30-second install like the other one. It took me a little bit and a lot of effort to get it through. Once that happens, or once you're all done with that, you tie it around, and then you use this little plastic piece here to get the strings through, the shoelaces through, and then you tighten it, and that's your lock to get your slack on your ropes, yep, on your shoelaces. So another problem that I had is when I'm playing games. So I would set this up just like a normal Knuckle, right? Like this. And I'd be playing, and one of these, the front one, would fall like that. And so I'd have to always reset. So while I'm playing, it would happen over and over again. It's still, it does. It would just happen all the time. Even if I was in here and I was tightening these as tight as they would go, I just don't think that the springs in the thing that's holding it there, I don't think they're strong enough, or maybe they wear. It's been happening since day one, but it slides out a little bit. So I did find myself having to kind of reset. Again, it's not like it's like a 30-second, not even 30-second thing. It's just in the middle of your game, you may need to pause and go, wait, okay, tighten that, move that, tight. Okay, all right, we're good. And then have to do it again. In Beat Saber, you're going nuts. It was pretty much after every song, I would have to reset the strap or the knuckle part and then tighten it again. Next thing, it is kind of sketchy and difficult to remove the battery. So when you put this thing on, to get it really on there and get it so that it's the right distance so that, everything works right, you really need to, you need to push on the bottom of this thing. And I've seen so many horror pictures of the ring breaking on these things way too easily, whether somebody dropped it or just kind of pushed on it too hard. So I'm trying really hard to just make sure that I'm only putting pressure right here to jam that thing on there to okay, yep. All right, good. It's on there. It's tight. We're good. Removing it, you have to hold this thing down, take the strings out, take the shoelaces out, take that out. Well, whatever. So you don't lose it. And then undo this, whatever, easy. And then you got to pull it off. But pulling it off, since you jammed it on there in the first place, it doesn't just slide right off. So you got to kind of grab and pull and pray that that you're not going to snap this thing. That whole process to change a battery, it sucks. It's just you go to play and it's oh, battery low. You're oh, fight through it. And then boom, battery dies. And you're okay, well, it's going to take a few minutes for me to get this done. And it's always sketchy that something bad is going to happen. So I'd say that's a really big negative on this. I suppose you could try and not push it on as hard, but I do feel like the pressure of this thing on there is always going to be pulling it up. So I think no matter what, you're going to kind of have a little bit of trouble pulling this off, and you just got to be careful. But that is probably my biggest con when it comes to these things. And then lastly, this may be a personal thing, but my pinky starts to hurt after a while. So the way the grip is set up on the bottom here, it really wants your hand to perfectly match up with that. But my hands don't stretch like this. Like that's what it wants. That's not how my hand stretches. That doesn't, okay, how about you show it the easier way? That's not how I want my fingers to be. Like I would rather be like this, right? So after a time, my pinky would be hitting this ridge here. And after a bit, it would start to be like, oh God, okay. And I'd have to like move my hand. That may be a personal thing. Maybe it's the size of my hands. I don't know, but it is definitely something to look out for when you're looking at these things. So I think that I got it all out there. I know this video is like way longer than you want it, but I hope that it was informative enough for you and that you enjoyed it. I think both of these are really good options. I personally prefer the Mamet touch grips. I mean, they're kind of like the pro version or whatever. Really, number one is because they have the cover of the actual controller itself, and that keeps the sweat off of it. I really do like that. But the Kiwi, the Kiwi design knuckle strap, $13, $12.99, gets the job done, works really, really well. I mean, it's a really good buy. I mean, I suggest it. If you're not too concerned about the grip of the controller itself, I mean, that thing holds on your hand really well. You get the whole like weightless feeling that is the point of these things. And I mean, I recommend both of them. But again, go the cheaper route. It is more than okay. If you're looking for, that extra grip and protection, then the Mamet is the way to go. But again, Mamet is $29.95. My bad. So it's a lot more expensive. And honestly, I don't know if it's totally worth it. If you can get some sort of silicone wrap for your controller that this thing will fit around, I said go that route. You just got to be careful about the size of the strap in the bottom. I don't know. There's got to be something out there. I think an additional thing would be if there was some sort of like something that you could put on the inside of the strap. This is the Kiwi, by the way. Inside the strap, just to kind of like make it a little bit softer on your hand, or maybe something to collect sweat. I mean, those are just some ideas. But all right, I think I've covered everything that I had in my notes here. I tried something a little bit different here, although I was definitely running off the top of my head. I also actually had talking points this time. So hopefully these reviews are getting a little bit better. I'd really like to know, what you thought about my review, if I did a good enough job for you, and if this helped. But also, let me know if you guys have other solutions that have that kind of knuckle strap on it that maybe you think is better than these two that I showed you. And also, what else you would like out of these reviews. Anything I could do better, anything I could do to improve any of this stuff for you guys. I would really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Can't wait to chat with you in the comments. You are all great. Later.